Hi everyone, welcome back to the next Diecast. In today's video, I'll be going over various tips, tricks, and techniques on how to catalog your diecast model cars. And whether you collect Hot Wheels, Matchbox, or other 1/64th scale cars, like all the ones you see here, or whether you collect medium scale cars, like the ones you see here, or large scale cars, like the ones you see here, or a mix of all three types of models, there are many ways you can catalog your collection. Now, some of you might be asking, why catalog your diecast cars? There are several advantages to cataloging your models. If you have a pretty extensive collection and kind of want a record of all the models you have, that's one benefit of cataloging them. If you plan on passing your collection down to somebody someday, or if you're planning on selling it, it's kind of a good way to keep inventory, so whoever is getting the collection next will know exactly what's in it, what models you have, and whatnot. And also, it kind of helps with future acquisitions. If you're looking at a specific model, and if you're at the point where you have enough models where you're not quite sure if you have a certain model or not, you can just go to whatever, platform you use to catalog them. In this case, if it was a 1/18 scale car I was considering, I would go to my Google Doc on here, do Control F, and search for the model. And if it doesn't pop up, then I can, go ahead and buy it. And if it pops up, then it means I already have it in the collection. And also, if you have an extensive collection and if you happen to keep models in multiple places, maybe you have some at home, you have some in like an off-site storage site, or you have some at like a family member's house or a friend's house or something like that. You can take advantage of, cataloging platforms, and you can even write in like a notes section, like model is located here or something like that. So that way you're not, digging around or going to, different sites just to find a specific model. In this case, you can go right into your catalog and find out exactly where the model is being stored. So there really are many advantages to cataloging your collection. So we're going to be kind of talking about three different methods that I recommend using, or methods that I used or have used to catalog models. Now, if you're wondering how you should be categorizing models when you're creating, catalogs for them, how I do it is I do it by scale and then by brand. And another way you can do it is you can mirror the way that you store your models with the way that you catalog them. For example, I catalog all my Hot Wheels in the same space, much like how I store them in the same space. I catalog all my 1/18 scale cars in the same manner because I store them all in the same manner. So if you're kind of wondering, how to get started or how to, categorize things, then that's pretty much how you would do it. Yeah, because like, as you know, I store all my Hot Wheels in these black cases, and they're all kind of in the same place down here. Of course, this is Matchbox in this case, but you kind of get the idea. And then once you kind of have that categorization done, I would go from scale and then to brands you have within that scale. For example, 1/64th scale, I have Hot Wheels, Matchbox, Greenlight, Johnny Lightning, etc., like many, many more. And then for, 1/18 scale, we have Maisto, Welly, and like Motormax, just to name a select few. And then from there, you could, maybe categorize them by type of car. Like if you want to, categorize all your supercars and catalog all those together. Or for my 1/18 scale cars, I catalog them based off the date that I actually got the car. That's a bit unusual, and I'm not really sure why I started with that, but ask me 10 years ago. I pretty much just began with that, and then I stuck with it. And then, of course, I use CollectHW.com for the Hot Wheels cars, so that you can pretty much put things in any order that you wish. Once you log in, and I'll kind of do a demonstration of the site, you can sort the models by year, by date that you cataloged them, by color, just all kinds of stuff like that. So that's just kind of a brief overview of how you can go about categorizing models when you go to catalog them. So the first method of cataloging diecast model cars that I'll be showing you today is the good old-fashioned old school paper and pen, or in this case, a composition book and a pen. So this is definitely a valid option for cataloging your model cars. This is how I started doing it with my 1/18 scale collection. I believe about 10 years ago. Yeah, I was in like middle school. And this definitely is a valid method if you'd like to use it. You can see I kind of have it structured by the year that I got the models, and I just kind of list every single model in kind of a brief sort of sentence structure. You have Maisto, Opel Speedster, Orange, Meister 2004 Chevrolet Colorado in brown, stuff like that. So this would work if you would like it to work. Although I would not recommend doing this method if you already have a very large collection. And I'm talking maybe like over 100 models. Because if you were to begin cataloging, you know, by hand, by paper and pen, all of your models, it would take an extensively long time. This I just kind of gradually did throughout the period of a few years. You can see I even have a 1/24 scale section in here too. And just random wish lists and things that I made. I even used to catalog my CDs in this thing too, apparently. Yeah, here's like Matchbox models of yesteryear. So if this works for you, I would say, you know, give it a try. But like I said, if you have a collection of many different types of cars or just have a large quantity of cars in general, this method may be a little bit difficult to use. And in addition, because you have this journal, unless you make photocopies of every single page or, you know, take pictures or whatever, this is the only copy that you have. So it wouldn't be as easy as, you know, typing all this up on perhaps Google Drive and then having it be accessible from a multitude of different, you know, devices. And you can also use, you know, 3x5 cards if you want. Make like a card catalog. Public libraries used to have these where they would have, you know, the title of the item and some other information. And the librarians used to kind of go through each card. This is, of course, way before the invention of OPACs, or online public access catalogs, which is what you pretty much see in any library that you walk into today, although some still do use the old-fashioned card catalog method. If you were to use, you know, index cards, you'd of course have to get something to put all the index cards in, perhaps band them together, you know, by category, by scale, by brand, etc. So although these options are definitely available and doable, they're not really much more than that. I think you get much more efficiency and just ease of access, ease of creation, if you were to use an online platform or a website to catalog your collection, which we will be getting into as the next two categories or types of cataloging you can use for your models. And a third method you can use for cataloging your diecast model cars is on your own through a virtual means. And by virtual means, I mean just taking, you know, a Word document, Microsoft, Excel, or other spreadsheet platforms, and in this case, we have a Google Doc, and use those types of platforms to catalog your model cars in any method that you would wish. And this method could be, you know, just kind of a running chart like I have here, a spreadsheet where you have many more columns and rows and whatnot, or you can simply just list out all the models that you have in like a typed up format. Now, the advantage, of course, of this type of cataloging is that you can access it from pretty much any device if you do choose to use a cloud-based storage format, such as Google Drive. And if you do happen to use something that's just internally on your own, you know, laptop or other computer, you can use, you know, maybe like a thumb drive to make a copy of it on there, so you have another, you know, source where you can find it, or you can simply just copy it to other personal devices that you may have. But in the case of my 1/18 scale diecast cars, I use this Google Doc to catalog them. So what I did here was I titled it, of course, and as I mentioned in the previous part of the video, I recommend when you are cataloging your diecast models to go first by scale and then by, you know, brand. So in the case of 1/18 scale cars, they are made by various brands, so I kind of have them all under a single list here. But I do have this as a separate document from the other catalog documents that I use for my models. So as you can see here, this is kind of the format that I use. I have the title up here, and then here's the metadata that I have, or the information. So I have these in order pretty much by the year that I got the model. I'm not really sure why. And like, once again, as I mentioned before, I'm not really sure why I started that, but I pretty much have been continuing it. I may eventually just sort it out, maybe like do it by brand, as opposed to, you know, date that I got the model. But all the other cataloging formats that I use for my other cars in my collections, I use, you know, scale and then brand. I don't do scale and then year that I got it. I just happen to use the year that I got it for the 1/18 scale cars, because they were the first cars I began to catalog. But here you see that I have the date that I got the model, the name of the model, who made the model, a brief look at like what the color of the model is and everything. And then for acquisition notes, I pretty much say if I remember what I paid for it, or like where I got it, if it was a gift, who gave it to me, what the occasion was, just stuff like that. But so you can kind of go for an in-depth approach to cataloging, or you can kind of do a more basic one. And by basic, I mean just literally having the model name, a description, and the brand if you want. Everything else will be kind of just additional information that will make it easier to kind of, pinpoint the exact model, or just for your own records and everything. Just have more information on that specific model as it pertains to you and your collection. So here's kind of the list here. All my childhood ones are up top there, and then we kind of go down further. You can see here's, like bought at a train meet, like a model train meet for $12 for this Plymouth Prowler over a decade ago. I'll say if I got it from Sam's Club, or if I got it as a gift. You don't have to even have the date. Again, that was just something that I did to start with my 1/18 scale cataloging. So I guess if I were to start this again from scratch, I would have, in order, I would have the name of the car, the manufacturer, then have the date, and then have the description. But for right now, as long as all the information is on here, I'm happy with it. And at this point, I have completely cataloged all my 1/18 scale cars. And what you're seeing here, you can do with other scales too. I could do this with, 1/24 scale cars, have kind of the same structure. And while there are, sites that you can use to catalog your Matchbox and your Hot Wheels cars, you can even use this for them too. For Hot Wheels, of course, I would omit the model manufacturer, because it's a given thing that they're made by Hot Wheels, but I would still have the name of the car and like a description and maybe some notes if I even need to have those. But this is just another kind of suggested method you can use to catalog your models. In this case, this is the 1/18 scale. Or in this case, this is how I catalog my 1/18 scale cars in my collection. And last but not least, a method you can use to catalog your diecast model cars is through specialized websites. And by specialized websites, I mean databases that pertain to specific models and specific brands. So there are many databases out there for Hot Wheels cars, Matchbox cars, and even brands such as Maisto. And a lot of these databases will include a feature where you can make an account and add items to your collection, quote unquote. As in, when you log into the site, you can log in and you can see which models from the database you have in your personal collection. So one example of one of these database sites is CollectHW.com. So we'll go to that. There we go. So CollectHW.com is the site that I use to catalog all of my Hot Wheels cars. And the advantage of using sites like this is that all the information is already on there, and they even include photos of a lot of the models. And this is really good, because then you can simply click on an entry for a specific car, and then just click a button, and then it adds to your collection. And then you can log in, and pretty much everything that I have on the 1/18 scale catalog document that I made would kind of already be included on the Hot Wheels site here. So we'll click on this one. I actually have this model here, so we'll click on it. And each model has kind of, an entry where you have a picture of it. You have different people that added it to their collections. You have a picture of the model or of the Hot Wheels car, usually on the card itself, so you can kind of see the artwork and everything. And here's a description. This is kind of similar to what you would see with a library catalog, where you have almost kind of like this mark record, which is what most libraries use to catalog books. With books, you'll have the title, the author, the format, the publication date, the edition. This is kind of what you see here. Title is kind of like the name of the car. Then you have like the year that it was released, the series that it was from. And this is pretty much what you would see for any Hot Wheels car on the site. So I'm going to go ahead and log in, and then you'll kind of see how you add cars to your collection on this site. So here are my Hot Wheels cars as they appear on the CollectHW site. You just log in, and then there's a button that says My Collection, which is located kind of on this side of the main page. And then it'll generate your entire list of cars that you added from the site to your collection. So these are all pretty familiar. That's because I have them. So there are a few that I would like to add, because I've, of course, bought them and I don't have them yet added to my virtual collection on CollectHW.com, or in my virtual catalog, I should say. So you guys know that I got the Glory Chaser from Walmart. So you pretty much just search for individual models and you can just add them to your collection on here. So here's the Glory Chaser. Of course, you have a picture, you can zoom in, you see the car and the blister card, and then it'll say all the different information that is relevant to the vehicle. And then by clicking a plus, now it is part of my collection. I also don't think, I know it's been months, but I got that Dodge Aries wagon from a hobby shop. So we'll see if I have that on here. I'm not sure if I have that added to my collection or not. So we're going to go ahead and click on that. It looks like I do not have that on there already. But I will click plus, and now that is also added to my collection. And again, you can go to settings, go to my collection, and then once again, you'll see everything on here. You can order everything by year. So if you do this, then it'll go from old to new or new to old. And then you can order it by series, color, and you can also download your collection from here as a CSV file. And basically when this is done, it'll kind of look like a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet, where all this information will be on there, kind of consolidated, and you can view it as a spreadsheet format. And then if you're savvy with programming, you can, import the CSV file to, Python or something, and then loop through to get to individual cars if you're looking for them. But I personally just look through my collection in this exact way, because then I can see all the pictures of the cars. You can search for models within your collection. I have over 500 cars on here now. There's more that I need to add, which I'll do, I guess, once I'm done filming this. So that's just one of many sites you can use. It already kind of does a lot of the work for you. You just have to add it yourself and then create kind of your own catalog by doing that. For Matchbox cars, there's Matchbox University. That's kind of a similar site where you can add Matchbox cars in a similar fashion and catalog them through their site. And hobbydb.com, you guys hear me reference that a lot when I look up information for my 1/18 scale cars. That has pretty much everything on there in terms of diecast. So if you just want to use one single platform to catalog everything, then try out HobbyDB. But I recommend kind of keeping things somewhat separate. So if you do have a pretty heavy Hot Wheels collection, I would say definitely use CollectHW.com and then use HobbyDB for the other cars you have in your collection. Or, just do this, catalog them yourself, with Google Docs or something like that. But there really are many different ways of cataloging your collection. So that's pretty much a wrap for how to catalog your diecast model cars. Hope this video was helpful, and feel free to comment down below with your thoughts on any of the techniques that I mentioned, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.